Now over to technology, where global tech giant Google has announced the opening of more U.S. offices and data centers over the next year. But what does this mean for you? For more, we bring in RT correspondent Sara Montes to break it all down. Sara, this is not just about opening up more offices, maybe more employment in these regions. There's actually a real reason as to why Google thinks that they need to expand who they have working for them.
Well, Scotty, Google plans to invest $10 billion from its current presence in 26 states in an effort to grow across the country. Now, this is especially after facing so much scrutiny from lawmakers. Now, Google plans to expand to additional states, including Colorado, Georgia, Massachusetts, Nebraska, Ohio, and Texas, just to name a few. In a blog post, Google CEO Sundar Pichai wrote, "Everywhere we invest, we strive to create meaningful opportunities for local communities," adding the investment will help create thousands of jobs, including roles within Google construction jobs and data centers and renewable energy facilities, and opportunities in local businesses in surrounding towns and communities. Now, Google already invested $13 billion to communities from South Carolina all the way to Nevada in 2019. As you know, Google right now is facing extensive scrutiny, not only in the U.S., but also globally, with 3 antitrust probes from the European Union. They all resulted in fines that added up to $9 billion. This also comes as Google announced its plan to crack down on Android apps that track your location. So the new review process will look at whether background location access is justified. For some apps, the location sharing actually is, for example, looking at the weather or even tracking your run. While location data vendors say they seek full consent, well, it doesn't necessarily mean the user is actually aware of the companies taking their data and what they're doing with it. Director of Management and Trust at Safety at Google Play, Krish Vittal-Devara, described the reason behind the change, saying that U.S. telecoms regulators cracks down on sale of real-time location data, that Google will soon let you auto-delete your location and even your web history, and that Google clamps down on Android app access to personal data. Meanwhile, for all of those using applications like Venmo, well, the one that allows you to ditch the cash and pay for goods and services, well, it's now under fire for some privacy issues. Jefferson Graham of USA Today reported his location was shared while using the application, even though he claimed that his settings were set to private. Venmo sent his location and information to a third-party data collection firm. Now, Scotty, this brings us back to the use of these free applications. When they claim they're free, it really means that you're paying by giving them your data. So while Google seems to be taking these extra measures, they say, as they continue to face scrutiny under U.S. lawmakers. But then you have applications like Venmo, where if you haven't already, users should definitely change their account settings to private.
Well, Sara, I have several questions. Let's hit number one. Let's talk about actual Google itself. I find it to be very hypocritical because you have a company that itself tracks your location no matter what you do, where you are, and they admit it boldly, yet they're getting angry at other applications for doing it as well.
We reported this before, Scotty. Remember a few months back where we saw that Chrome and your Gmail then also tracks all of your purchases.
Right.
So that's also another interesting point.
Well, it's like, you know, I can do it, but you can't. So something about that doesn't seem like to be very fair. And once again, nothing's ever free. You do have to pay for something, and is your data worth it? The second part is this Venmo. Most people aren't familiar with it, but it is truly becoming, I think it's the version of, it's not cryptocurrency.
It's a version of PayPal.
But it's like a PayPal, but everybody has it, makes it super easy. I wonder how this guy actually knows that his location was sold at that moment that you press it to a third party. Kind of looks a little suspicious unless you're monitoring it to make sure it doesn't happen. But it's pretty hard to tell. You and I couldn't tell if our location was sold to a third party at the exact moment that we pressed Venmo, correct?
Right. There's no way to actually tell. He said that it popped up, and that it popped up while he was trying to pay his trainer for it. So and he said that his settings were already on private. So a lot of questions remain. Venmo really didn't or hasn't responded with a comment to this either, which is a little bit scary.
And once again, you know, there's several layers. Whether Venmo might not take this privacy, but Google might, or his phone carrier settings. There's a lot of different people that would like that very important information. Sara, thank you for continuing to follow this.
Thank you, Scotty.